A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
It's Shaun Morash.
On the sideline, into the end zone. Touchdown, Giants!
From the offseason to the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome into One Giant Step. I'm Shaun Morash. He's Bryce Gelman. And we have Giant fans both upset and happy because, of course, the New York Giants just can't keep everything sane and everything on the right track. The Giants dropped 45 points on the Indianapolis Colts in their final home game of the year. They avoid being winless at home, and they beat the stinking Indianapolis Colts to get their third win of the year. And it is just actually a lot to dissect, both future-wise, both instantaneous-wise, and both how could so much stuff happen in one game-wise. I will tell you, we will lead with the negative again, and we will get to the positive, as believe me, I've combed through everything after hearing Brian Dable, and I will have a positive sell for you because that's what I'm here for. But Bryce is very negative today, so I'm going to let Bryce start it off. Bryce, your thoughts to beating the Indianapolis Colts?
This was expected. I can't believe I'm saying that.
No.
Yes, it was. Not today. Not today.
You cannot.
Not today. Before you can let me finish. This was expected. They were going to win at least one of the last 2 weeks. I knew they would screw it up. I didn't think it was going to be in this game. I thought it would be next week against the Eagles. The fact that it happened this week against the Colts and the fact that it happened is absolutely pathetic, Shaun. It is one of the worst sporting events that I've watched with my own two eyes since, I don't even know. I can't even remember. Maybe Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the stupid Pacers last year. This is different, though, because this has ramifications going down 5, 10, 15 years down the line. We had to sit there and watch our organization. I want to curse so bad, but I'm not going to because this is your podcast. This is on WFAN YouTube. I'm not going to do that. I would have dropped an F-bomb, maybe 15. This is so effing pathetic that the Giants, as of right now, may have to use even more assets to trade up to get their stupid quarterback. Idiots.
Look, I'm not going to call them idiots because this has always been the underlying theme, and this is why I stressed, and I have said on this podcast numerous times, the players and the coaches don't tank. The fans want to tank. And you could make, handshake agreements between owners and GMs to do what's best roster-wise to tank. But ultimately, once a coin is flipped and two teams go out there, if that team is just better that day, that's what happens. Now, here is where I will spin a little negative here. And this goes to that problem. The NFL has a real problem. They don't have the draft lottery like the other three leagues, and it leaves fans to kind of argue and bicker with each other at the end of the year and have teams in these spots. But for being honest, knowing those are the rules, if there were more owners willing to have serious forward thoughts and be able to block out the media and block out the fans, they would embrace losing at the end of the year. They would embrace knowing that that's what's best. They would embrace giving a wink to the coach. I know what's got to be done, but make sure you get the right guy. They don't do that. If they did, then sure. Then Brian Dable maybe, would have made and prepared different things. Maybe he would have, called plays differently. Maybe he would have intended, but that's not the reality of life. And frankly, anybody who's paid money to fly a plane over MetLife Stadium, anybody who's really ratcheted up the calls, and we appreciate him to the fan and all this social media stuff, I tell you right now, that family reads everything. Brian Dable felt a lot safer a month ago than he did 2 weeks ago. Brian Dable felt a lot safer 2 months ago than he did a month ago. But the noise that was all stirred up about him losing his job got to the point where people thought he was whispering, I'm coaching for my job. If he never thought he was coaching for his job, I'm not saying the Giants still win today, don't win today. I'm just saying things can be a little different. The pressure's been put on by you people, the fans, and you people writing letters to John Mara and company, and you people buying airplanes. And Brian Dable's heard and seen it all. He pulled out all the stops today, okay? Called a perfect game against this Colt defense today. With Drew Lock. No, he did.
Perfect game. No. The fourth and 3 from their own territory, the pitch play that went nowhere. Even you tweeted and said that's a tank play from Brian Dable. So you can't sit here and say that was a perfect game. You have that call up.
Okay. All right. So it's a 99% game. Need I continue to say here, Drew Lock, and thanks to Doug Analytics for this, plus 1.18 EPA per play today versus the Colts was the sixth best of any quarterback since 1999. The five other quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Lamar Jackson, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. That's how good a game was played by Drew Lock, how good a game was called by
Shaun,
Brian Dable.
And then I know you're going to get to it, but the one thing I did see from Brian Dable saying, like, that's what happens when you get good quarterback play.
Yeah.
So I think that this win might seal up his future as the Giants head coach. I think he's going to be back. I guess if both of us are looking at it in a certain way, we're not framing it in any other way that Giants fans want to see it positive. Both of us, from what we've discussed, we like Brian Dable. We think Brian Dable deserves to say. So I guess that might be the one positive that I could take away, the one possible thing that we are going to see Brian Dable back as head coach of the Giants. If he's still fired after this, I'm going to be even more upset. But that could be the one positive that I got.
All right. I'll kind of layer that in a second, but I just wanted to, before talking about the game, the fact that in that first half, Shane Steichen on 3rd and 8 decides to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, basically gets a couple yards, kicks a 54-yard field goal. It's no good. I knew that was ominous right then and there. I thought that was just terrible coaching from the Colts. The Smith-Marsnett kick return for a touchdown was one of those moments when you sit down to start the second half, you go, oh my God, they're really going to win the game. Like, all the momentum was incredible. I can't believe that they returned a kick for a touchdown. And you hear me laughing, go, this is no funny matter, but like, I had no choice but to laugh. Like, of course something like that happens in this game. Now, the other positives, because there are Giant fans listening, and don't get me wrong, are old school, don't want to lose. And I don't want to, look, we could disagree on that. I don't want to turn those people off. You walk away today again, although it was one crazy fumble that Tyrone Tracy almost had recovered. But Neighbors and Tracy, the all-purpose yards, 1,000 yards each pair of teammates, first time since Marcus Colston and Reggie Bush. I thought that was incredible. I think Neighbors all day long just showed again why he is a worthy building block. And this was a good game for those who care about kind of core guys that could be on this team next year. Now, all of that being said, I do think Brian Dable's job is now safe. Yep. I do. Whether that means I want that or what should be done is another story. And I think this all ties into what is next for the New York Giants. I believe that John Mara truly was looking for any reason not to fire Brian Dable and, to a lesser extent, Joe Schoen. I do.
There you go. Today he got his reason.
Right. So, and like, read the tea leaves, dude. The fact that we've gotten here with a 2-win team to the final 2 weeks of the year, and it still was a debate despite massive fan calling for firings, and you didn't already have these guys fired. You know, he could have got out from it and just said, the hell with this. We're getting out now. Let's not have this happen. And by the way, put a pin in that, because if they do fire Brian Dable, that's why I'll be upset about this. I think he was looking for any excuse not to fire them. And I think today, scoring 45 points, not having to hear for the rest of your life that you didn't win a home game in the 2024 season, your 100th season. It seems stupid, but that's something that the ownership is going to care about.
Yeah.
The guys who helped do it, Neighbors, Tracy, those are going to be feathers in the cap. I think they were looking for an excuse not to fire them. And I think that Brian Dable saved his job today. Now, Bryce, I don't know if you agree, disagree. If Brian Dable is going to get fired, I know there will be plenty of Giant fans that still approve and still want him fired. And that's not what I'm arguing. What I'd argue is it's a disgrace then that he wasn't fired last week, a week earlier, after Thanksgiving, whatever the hell the case may be, because you let a man coach for his job that had no way of earning said job back. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Brian Dable just won a football game that potentially could cost you huge draft capital, if not a quarterback. Okay. Brian Dable just did that for your organization. And if you're not going to bring him back, then that tells me your mind was made up before a game like this, allowing him to coach for his job to win a game, which I think is incompetence at its finest. So where do you stand on that?
I agree 100%. If you wanted to fire him, you fire him a couple of weeks ago. You don't give him a chance. I mean, listen, I have nothing to say back to that. You're right. 100%. They should have fired him if that was the case. They wanted to give him a chance. That's how I view it. They're like, hey, listen, you're such a quarterback guru. Like, you get some good play in the last 2 weeks. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And there you go. And if that did happen, then the organization signaled that they are not, at the end of the day, okay with losing in order to get the best possible pick. That means they're not okay with tanking. And no organization,
they should be, though. Organization
no organization should ever is going to be like that. I mean, they should be, but I really don't think the Maras would ever be fully fully sold the idea that they could lose and they have to lose more games to get a better pick. They know deep down they're never going to admit that and actively say that outright, or even amongst themselves.
And you got to realize, I mean, these are, as far as like the jobs week to week, imagine putting in so much time and effort into something and coming up short. To them, they're looking in a vacuum. They're not looking at it like Bryce, Gelman, and Shaun Morash look at it, over a computer screen and discuss. They're looking at it inside the room. They wanted to win. They won the game. And they scored 45 points in doing so. I guess, look, I guess in hindsight, if you're going to win a game, at least look good doing it. At least if any fan cared about being there and seeing a win, at least they saw like a fun one and it wasn't like 9-6 where you felt worse about it. But nonetheless, it sucks. It sucks that Anthony Richardson didn't play in this game because you lost that entire dual threatness that would have been there. But geez, I mean, I can't get over it. I can't believe they won the game. Now, to the good of this whole thing. We are taping this earlier than usual. Okay, we're taping this around halftime of the 4:00 window. In fact, as I'm speaking into a microphone, the Dolphins lead the Browns 6-3. Many of you are going to listen to us and already know the outcome of the Browns game. If the Browns win, it's an enormous deal for the New York Giants because they'll go to bed on Sunday night picking 3rd overall. If they don't, the Giants will go to bed picking 4th. Not nearly as bad as 5-6. It helps that some of these teams, including the Raiders, won their 4th game. Obviously, the Jags won their 4th game. So now we're talking about the Titans. Here's where I tell you this is good news. This is not like last year where Tommy DeVito ripped off 3 straight wins. That was actually worse, folks. Well, number one, because they won multiple games. Number two, they beat Washington and New England in the process, who also needed quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. What happened today for the Giants was bad. I can't paint another picture other than that. Like, if you lose out, you get the number 1 overall pick. It was bad if you wanted the number 1 overall pick. But I don't believe that beating the Indianapolis Colts has cost the Giants either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. And there's a big difference in that. Okay? Well, here's why. First and foremost, just look ahead to next week. We don't know what's going to happen with the Giants and Eagles. Geez, the Eagles with, down to McKee at points in their game. Today's the 3rd quarterback. They're going to run Saquon like pigs. I don't think the Giants are winning next week the way everything is shaping up with the way Philadelphia looks. The Tennessee Titans, they have a head coach coaching his ass off. Okay, they lost. The Houston Texans, who have been so bad, are going to lay down their swords on Sunday and rest guys before their playoff game on a short week, which you bet will be on that wild card Saturday. The Texans starters have been bad. Could you imagine what the Texans backups are going to look like? There is a good chance the Tennessee Titans, or at least a 50-50 chance the Tennessee Titans are winning a football game next week. Okay? The Cleveland Browns, as I said, I can't really comment further, so we've got to see what happens here with Miami. And the New England Patriots, I'm assuming, because the Bills will not have the bye, will be playing Buffalo backups. And you saw how New England looked 2 weeks ago versus Buffalo starters. They're in every other week. I don't think it is a lock that everything stays exactly where it is right now. By the way, the Dolphins have just scored. I don't think it's a lock that it stays. Who scored for the Dolphins? Tyler Huntley ran one in. I don't think it's a lock that it stays where the Giants are 3rd or 4th. And the Giants could easily be back to 2 when all is said and done after week 17. And if it's Tennessee, I think Tennessee's going to take a quarterback. I do. If it's the New England Patriots, one of 2 things is happening. They're either taking Travis Hunter, the best player in the draft, or they are looking to see what they get in a trade. Raiders are going to have to be involved. The Giants will be involved. There might be another team that gets involved to trade with New England, and New England already has Drake May if they say, you know what, let's get more draft picks possible. I think the Giants would be the highest bidder in that case. I think especially if Joe Schoen feels like his life is on the line to draft the quarterback, it will be. And Bryce, I understand why that upsets you. This is where it absolutely sucks to lose so many other important assets for the Giants to trade up for quarterback. But I also say, if you believe that one of these quarterbacks was going to be great anyway, then what the hell are you so worried about? Because there's no price that is too much to pay if you hit on a franchise quarterback.
Dude, I can't even fathom the idea of them trading up, having to give up, mortgage the future.
It's gonna happen, dude.
Just to get exactly. So that's why there's no positive in any of this. There's no potential. Oh, hey guys, this is
well. If he's good, do you believe that? Do you believe that those guys are going to be franchise quarterbacks?
It's definitely more of a question mark than it was last year. That's why I think at the end of the day, again, it was 3 wins instead of 1. The 1 hurts more than 3 combined because there was a fun factor to it. But when you look at it, it was clear cut top 3 quarterbacks right there.
But
there
was
no
done,
guarantee.
Bryce, it is done.
No, I get that. I understand that. but you're mentioning the fact that the Giants may end up with the second or third pick. I think if they end up with the third pick, I think it's best case scenario because not only first off, I don't want Shedeur Sanders. I don't have to deal with him. I never did. At number one, I was arguing that the best and most ideal situation scenario was them trading down to 3 and someone at 2 wanting to take Travis Hunter, and that being the case, and them taking Cam Ward at 3, not having to spend the number 1 pick on Shedeur Sanders. If they end up with the third pick, and the number 2 pick goes, with Travis Hunter, hopefully no team trades up to 2, and the Giants have to trade up to 2 to take Cam Ward. I think that that's the most ideal scenario out of everything that could possibly play out. But here's the thing, Shaun. There's no guarantee that they win next week against the Eagles. If Drew Lock looked as good as he looked today, they may be running the hell out of Saquon Barkley, but you saw A.J. Brown in that post-game interview saying, I'm not playing next week. Why the hell would he? Why the hell would anyone else besides Saquon Barkley? Why would anyone else? Their defense, you think those guys are going to play?
The Eagles, here's what you're forgetting, man. The Eagles backups, a lot of them are better than the Giants starters. The Giants aren't playing that many big-time starters right now.
But are they better than the Colts starters? That's the thing, because we just saw the Giants starters dismantle the Colts starters.
Football doesn't work like that.
I get it. It's any given Sunday. Any given Sunday. I understand that.
Of course, and I think
to say right now that you really believe in your heart of hearts that the Eagles are going to win that game.
I do.
I don't know. I can't say that. I'm saying I think it's 70-30. I think the Giants will lose the game, but there's still that chance. And if they lose that game, Shaun, we are on this podcast talking about what an absolute unmitigated disaster this season has been. The fact that we have to sit through 16 terrible weeks of we're going to get a top 2 pick, to go from that to having a 7th or 8th or 9th pick.
They're not going to be.
That's the possibility now. Yeah, the worst case scenario, if they lost this week,
Bryce,
was if they end up with 3 or 4.
Take bows like when that happens. And look, if that's what you believe, I'm not going to tell you what not to believe. I think push come to shove, the Giants are ultimately picking 1 or 2 via trade or whether they end up there themselves. I really do believe that,
man. I can't deal with the trade. I'd rather them just sit there and not take a quarterback.
I think this is total Giant content creator hypocrite time. If you were so on board and excited about the idea of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I can't take you seriously if now I can't deal with a trade up. If you believed he was going to be good, then that shouldn't matter to you.
I don't think I ever said that I was in full belief of the abilities of these two guys.
But I'm on lookout, and this goes for anybody that listens to the pod, tweets at the pod. I know, plenty of other people do podcasts, listen to this podcast, listen to theirs. I'm telling you right now, tell me if you're afraid of a trade up. I understand the negatives too, because the Giants need a ton of other assets. But, the Giants traded a haul to get Eli Manning, okay? Does anybody give a crap what they gave up years later? So, if you believe, it's like Santa Claus.
That was also Eli Manning. I don't know. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is Eli Manning. I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft that all of us are convicted is the top talent in the draft where you're going to have to give up 3 first-round picks for a guy.
Just remember that when you're watching Kirk Cousins play quarterback, if that's how you feel, and Travis Hunter's your cornerback. Just remember that, because that's what there's not a lot of good options here. But wait, I get it. I wanted to lose today. I don't think it's a good thing that they won today. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing under this one scenario. If you were fine with either Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, and you don't care which one, and you also wanted Brian Dable to be the quarterback the coach for said quarterback. And I'm not telling you how you should feel, if you were one of those people, I think today was your best day, because I think ultimately the Giants still will end up with 1. And I think today Brian Dable saved his job. And if Brian Dable didn't, this will be my last warning. My dogs are going nuts because they've had it too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're barking for the dog pound. They want the Browns to win here. My last call over Ranger and Eli, obviously wanting their dinner here upstairs at my house. My last call would be this.
Ranger and Eli.
Mr. Mara, Brian Dable has to keep his job now, because if he's out, you allowed him to coach for no reason a masterclass over Shane Steichen and win a game.
Yep.
So bring him back. That's it.
Bring him back.
And if you don't want him back, I'm not telling you that you should want him back, but I'm just saying it makes no sense now to fire Brian Dable.
Yep.
It does not.
Yep.
All right. I've lost control of the house, Bryce.
Let me just say this. I have a bone to pick, and your dogs are flipping out. Whatever. Mute yourself while I speak, and then we'll wrap up here.
All right.
I have a bone to pick with the fans at MetLife Stadium and that absolute dumpster fire of a stadium that houses the 2 worst teams in football. losing their minds over a win today. You can't tell me, Shaun, that the majority of the fans at MetLife Stadium today who decided to whatever, for whatever reason, take time out of their day to drive to the stadium, have to deal with the traffic going out, you have to deal with the high concession prices to sit in that stadium and to want a win. The majority of that stadium. I cannot for the life of me understand the majority of fans rooting for a win. I don't think that that's representative of the rest of the fan base. I hope it's not. But today, what we saw at at MetLife Stadium with Giants fans was a joke, Shaun. It's a joke. The fact that there's still that many people out there that are rooting for, I don't care. I've had it because of what we saw last year. I'm done.
Bryce. The people that go to a game like that today, there are two kinds of people, or three kinds of people. It's families that can never afford to take their family to a football game all year long and got tickets dirt cheap, handed to them for free, whatever. And for those people, and I could speak to you as a father of two young kids,
they're excused.
Those are the people where they just became Giant fans for life because they saw a wild win. There's something to that. I'm not going to call those people idiots. Number two, you have people that don't actually care about draft picks or anything else that got tickets to a football game today that wanted to drink in the parking lot, have a good time. Oh, the Giants are winning and they're playing the music and this, that, and the other thing. Those are the people. And number three, these are the people, if you want to call them idiots, it's loyal season ticket holders who believe everything in the draft is a crapshoot, that just go to every game and cannot bring themselves for a win. That's very old-timey. I think those people, to a lesser extent, are idiots. But the other two types of people, I can't.
Fine. That's fair.
All right. Bryce, take a cold shower. My Brooklyn Nets, it looks like, with 8 seconds left. Hold on.
Who cares?
Well, this is big here because I'm trying to tank in two sports, Bryce.
Who cares?
I care.
Irrelevant.
We're going to tank. We just blew it.
There's three. There are three total people listening to this podcast right now who are Nets fans. Three total people.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
There's a lot more Nets fans than Giant fans than you think, pal. That Jersey connection used to play across the parking lot.
I know 4 total Nets fans in my life. 4, and you're one of them.
Great. I know 5 Knicks fans. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Not a lot of Knicks fans on Long Island, I'll tell you right now.
That's not true.
Can't find a flag flying outside a house to save your life.
Maybe
At Shaun Morash on Twitter. At Bryce Gelman on Twitter. Thanks to everybody for taking one giant step with us.